Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Football Suite Chat Show. I'm of course your host Leon, and with me as always is my co-host Richard and head of social media Andrew. This week's topics will involve the rise in footballers' wages, footballers and social media, and footballers leaving the English Premier League to play in the MLS and then returning. Why does this happen? Well, we'll discuss that. And the final topic is transfer rumours. So we'll get into the first topic, is the rise in footballers' wages. Topic I know that Richard's interested in. Do you want to get us started on that, Richard?
Yeah, well, look, I think, talking about it today between the three of us, I think, Andrew's made a great point in regards to the stories of Jermaine Defoe being on 80 grand a week at Sunderland.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
I mean, it's just... I think it's been quoted in the papers that the contracting total is going to be something like 14 million.
It's really shocking, isn't it?
It's crazy ways. I mean, even if you look at your best players in the world, and you're talking a £250,000, just to kick a ball about. And don't get me wrong. I mean, some of the players, deserve it and they earn it and stuff. But I think the money in football in the last 10, 15 years has just gone crazy. It's gone nuts. Mid-90s, you wouldn't have ever dreamed of a player being paid £250,000, £300,000 a week to play football. Yeah,
definitely. And also, especially with people like Jermaine Defoe, it was quite well known that he was going there to sort of finish his career and settle down, and then he's back in. Obviously, that's a topic for later in the show, but he's gone out there to sort of relax. So they're gonna have to pay more to get him, but then he comes straight back to the Premier League and is on that wages there, And also we've just seen Wilfred Boney go to Manchester City on 100 grand a week. Okay, he's a good striker in that, but is he 100 grand a week striker yet?
Well, if you look at it in context, I mean, in the context of the game today, 100 grand a week's nothing. Especially for a player that's just finished leading goal scorer in the Premier League 12 months ago. So if you think about it in context, 100 grand a week is quite reasonable these days for a footballer, especially a footballer going to somewhere like City or United or Chelsea or somewhere. So, he could have quite possibly, his agent could have been quite greedy and asked for 150 grand a week, and I'm pretty positive Man City would have paid it.
And also, we've seen quite a few young players coming through that, the minimum they'll go to is 50 million and stuff like that. It's really ridiculous to see sort of 21-year-olds on double wages of someone who's been in the game for about 10 years, don't you think, Andrew?
Oh yeah, just going back on the Defoe point, it's I couldn't believe it when I actually heard Sunderland are paying £80,000 a week on a player. Cause I remember not that long ago hearing Arsenal's top players on £80,000 a week. I couldn't believe it. That was a ridiculous amount. It just made me think, when's all this going to stop? And it kind of just shows you what teams are willing to pay to stay in the Premier League, really, isn't it? It's that sense that, because I think that's what Defoe's role is going to be at Sunderland. They've obviously looked at him and said he's going to score us goals that'll keep us in the Premier League. So I mean, my main question is where's this going to stop? Are we going to have Championship teams now start paying ridiculous wages because the TV money is going to start going into there and stuff? And it's
yeah, definitely. And also the fact that, say, if Sunderland do go down and nobody else can find a move for Defoe, then Defoe's on 80 grand a week in a Championship Sunderland. And also, we look at the other players in Sunderland. Will they think, if he's on 80 grand a week, well, maybe I want a new contract and stuff like that? Do you think it could potentially backfire for Sunderland?
Oh God, yeah, massively. This could be real. This could be a real problem but of course, I don't know. Obviously, their accounts and stuff. I don't know how much they can afford. But I mean, it's just a ridiculous amount of money, £80,000 for a team like Sunderland, because they don't have no offence to Sunderland at all. They're a great football team, but they don't have Asian fan bases and stuff like that. So there's no revenue definitely from that. They're not they're not a massive global team. It's a very nice community team. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm struggling to get my head around the actual how's teams that side of the. I mean, I can definitely
understand Sunderland's perspective of wanting Defoe to come in because, you know, they haven't got a particularly great strike force. But could there have been different targets just as good as Defoe, if not better, for less money? Or also maybe put like the lad that plays striker for Sunderland, Connor Wickham. He had a really good end to last season, but at the moment he's playing on the wing for Sunderland. It doesn't make much sense.
Well, yeah, well, a lot of things at Sunderland this season aren't really making sense because
seems to happen like an annual thing for Sunderland, doesn't it? Like they seem to have a crisis and a new manager comes in, saves them, and it's a survival. And it seems to happen year in out, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, that must be. I mean, I can't really speak for Sunderland, but I think that must be. It does happen a lot. Exactly what you're saying. There does seem to be crisis, change of manager, great form, and they're comfortable in the league. So I mean, maybe that's what instead of changing the manager, they're hoping to bring in a good striker and they'll go up the table.
Yeah, and I mean,
if you look at, I mean, obviously I know we're concentrating on Defoe here, and I mean, look, you know, the clubs he's played for, he's scored goals everywhere he's played, but you wouldn't ever say he's been a world beater.
No.
You know, I mean, his goal-scoring record, in fact, not even that great. I mean, Spurs, 134 appearances, 47 goals. You know, in his second spell with them, 139. In his first spell with them, 43 goals. Nearly 100 games for West Ham over 5 seasons, only 29 goals. You know, he's not the most prolific player in the world, and he's getting older. I mean, for me, I don't understand, and I think I've mentioned it a couple of times on the show. I don't understand why a club like Sunderland, like your West Hams, Leicester Cities, your Hulls, why they're not looking at the Championship for players. Jordan Rhodes is a proven goal scorer at Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah, because you could definitely say that's a thing with the Premier League. You know, I've got a table in front of me where it shows the average wage a week for Ligue 1 France is 18,000, La Liga 23,000, Serie A 25,000, Bundesliga 28,000, and Premier League 43,000. You know, that's a huge jump from a league which is an amazing league.
Look, I mean, you've got Jordan Rhodes in the Premier League that score in a Championship that's scoring goals for fun. A Premier League team, a mid-table, a Newcastle, a Sunderland, an Everton, some team like that. Jordan Rhodes is going to cost less than £20 million. He's probably on about maybe 30 grand a week. I know the wage bill at Blackburn. That's why they're obviously not able to sign the players at the moment. The wage bill's quite high at Blackburn Rovers. There's another thing. The way they've been, obviously they've got a transfer embargo. They can't make any signings because of the wage bill. So he must be on, let's say he's on 35 grand a week.
Yeah.
Jordan Rhodes is going to cost you less than £20 million to purchase, 15 maximum, and he's probably only going to want 40, 45, maybe 50 grand a week.
And it's sort of bringing in the English footballers as well, giving it more choice to the national team.
Exactly. And it's you're not taking a massive big risk, because the thing is with Jermaine Defoe, and if Sunderland go down, Jermaine Defoe's not going to want to play in the Championship. So, but the thing is with Jordan Rhodes, if Jordan Rhodes goes to Sunderland and Sunderland get relegated, he's played in the Championship for the last however many seasons he's been at Blackburn.
Yeah.
And I picked Jordan Rhodes out because, you know, the lad was bought, I think they spent £9 million on him. He was a big purchase for Blackburn Rovers, high wages. And he's scored week in, week out. He scored plenty of goals. He seems to be constantly fit. He doesn't seem to get injured that often. Why isn't a team? Why are the Premier League concentrating on trying to get your Jermaine Defoes and your Peter Crouches to try and keep them in the Premier League?
But also, you look at Defoe, and Defoe hasn't got long left as a footballer. You know, 32 for a striker. You know, and Defoe relied on his pace a lot. So, you know, Defoe isn't going to be that sort of 4 or 5 year striker where Rhodes could be.
Exactly. You know, you've got Jordan Rhodes that's quite easily, if a team in the Premier League take a chance and you know, bring Jordan Rhodes to the Premier League, because it's highly unlikely, unfortunately, that Blackburn are going to get promoted. They seem to be there or thereabouts in regards to the playoff places, but they never quite make it. You know, the lad's 24 years of age. He's scoring goals in which is a tough league. Everybody knows that the Championship's a tough league. You've only got to look at the teams that have been relegated and not managed to come straight back up. And I just don't get it. I mean, I don't understand why they're going to spend in total over his contract £14 million when there's players playing in this country in the lower leagues of English football who are scoring goals for fun, who are used to playing, in a tougher league. Because let's be fair, the Championship's a lot tougher league than the MLS is and than the Premier League is. Yeah. If you watch the Championship, tackles go in the Championship that used to go in the 80s and 90s, and they don't get as punished as what they do in the Premier League.
Yeah,
you can't sneeze on a player in the Premier League without getting booked.
No, but also you look at that's a great example of the sort of English way of football as well, because you look at some of the lower leagues and you've got 30-year-old men and young kids playing together, and you're just going to get laughed at, So, but then you have players like Vincent Kompany, for instance, who have come from different leagues, who don't know the same thing. Not saying that Vincent Kompany would approve of diving, but he's come from a different league, and you don't know the way of English football. As much as he may have settled in already, he's come from a different place. So it's when you play with a different style of players, then you're going to start playing differently. That's just the way football is. But I don't know if you agree, Andrew, but when you look at players' wages and stuff, you look at teams like Southampton, who over the years have been promoted after their downfall, and they seem to have kept the base of their team, and then brought through youngsters. It seems to be working quite well for them.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. It's a great point you bring up there about Southampton. That it's exactly why they are where they are now in the league, because that even though they may have sold some of the players who got them to where they are now, there's that base of a team. It's not it's not like the QPR model a few years ago, where it's loads of individuals being thrown together over a summer. Is when you get a team mentality in teams like these, it works, and I think that's what football is, though, isn't it? It's a team sport. It's not supposed to just be a game of individuals.
No, definitely. And also, when you see teams come up from the Championship, you could say that you didn't need to change your team so dramatically. You don't have to bring in, a £15 million striker all the time. Have a bit of faith. If you're going to bring in the sort of striker who's pushing 30, and he might get you goals, but then you have some 22-year-old kid who's just helped you get promotion and just benching him, and then you go down. You expect that player that you just brought in to have problems, but that kid's still going to be sitting there well, I helped you now, so I helped you then, so I can help you now. If you keep a bit of faith in people, you may come out good for them.
Can I just ask a question of you two guys? Just on the point before, do you think those clubs who don't buy from the Championship, do you think they have a fear that they'll put all that money in and it then won't work out?
They may well have a fear of it not working out. But I mean, look, if we just go basically purely off statistics, Jordan Rhodes for Huddersfield before he went to Blackburn Rovers played 124 games, scored 73 goals. He's made 111 appearances since 2012 for Blackburn Rovers and scored 61 goals. Now, you wouldn't associate Huddersfield Town and Blackburn Rovers with a team of talent that's going to give Jordan Rhodes the service to obviously warrant that amount of goals. If Jordan Rhodes went to somewhere in the Premier League and he had a better service and he had a better quality of player around him, it's actually quite scary if you think about it. In the same situation as obviously Wilfred Bonney. The goals he scored at Swansea, he's been top draw, but you won't really say he's had the world's best players around him. It's actually quite scary to think what he's going to do at Manchester City. We saw
it quite similar with Charlie Austin, didn't we? He scored goals wherever he is, and if he was in perhaps a team like Manchester City or Man United or Chelsea, he could be a real sort of push himself even further than he is at the moment. But
Exactly.
I also think that you look at like Championship teams, and for instance, say if Chelsea were interested in signing Jordan Rose, then his price doubles because they think, let's get as much as we can for this player. But then if Chelsea, who have scouts all around the world, spot a young Dutch kid or a French kid who's going to cost them 7 million, then Jordan Rhodes goes out the window, because Chelsea can always, if there's a problem, loan him out. Where Jordan,
is it not just the same of a risk? Obviously, picking up on Andrew's point now, is it not the same risk as a Premier League team buying a Championship player as it is? I mean, look at Aston Villa. They've just signed a young Spanish international that, quite frankly, nobody's heard of.
I think it's definitely a risk whatever transfer you get in, But you look at some transfers, and they've when you hear of some unknown player, he's obviously been scouted for a while, and they've brought in the scouts' information, and they think he can fit in well to the team, but it's always going to be a risk, and unless you're willing to spend a good amount of money to bring, because English talent at the moment is really inflated. You look at some players and it's ridiculous. Even like Ross McCormack, he went for a really big price, even though I'm not seeing why. But I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? We're seeing players get greedy as well, and that's probably one of the worst things.
I just think, in all fairness, I think the wages in English football, can they bring in a wage cap? I mean, look at Arsene Wenger. I mean, he was relatively strict with his transfer policies and his wages. I think that might have gone out the window a tiny little bit with the Meta Ozil purchase, and obviously Sanchez purchase, but. He was relatively strict in regards to what he would pay transfer-wise, but he was still able to bring players to the football club. Sadly, it was a case of he lost them players. He could keep them there for a certain amount of time, but once they realised they could go elsewhere to your Manchester Cities or to your Manchester Uniteds and get a better monthly wage, then that's where you lose out on them players. But I don't think the wages are going to, all the wages are going to do is drastically increase. And if you think about it, if Falcao signs for Manchester United on a permanent transfer, he's not going to want to take a pay cut. And what's he on? Something ridiculous, 350 grand a week, which currently is tax free because he's at Monaco.
Apparently, yeah. But I think
United
also
they want to pay 350 grand a week for Falcao.
No, definitely. But also, I think the big problem with when it comes to sort of wages and stuff like that, and players in England, is managers, because I don't think managers are in a role long enough to sort of have faith in players. If the player isn't playing bad, like for instance Gus Poyet, if he has faith in Jose Altidore and he doesn't show it, then by the time Altidore probably starts getting informed, it's too late. Poyet's already sacked. But like when you had people like Alex Ferguson and stuff like that, where they were in the job for so long that they could see a player grow and see how they could accommodate, because you wasn't getting sacked. You could look 5 years time and that player had then gone from what he was to this. So that's a big thing. People, they don't have enough patience in football nowadays, so you don't have enough to grow a player.
I think that's a great point, and I think that's exactly another answer to why our academies aren't. That's why so many kids don't come through the academies into the first team anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And also with Chelsea, I hear a lot of why didn't you use this player? Why didn't you use that? Because a manager didn't pick that player. Chelsea went through like 7 managers at one point and all had different teams, and you expect this youth player who was under Ancelotti to suddenly flourish under Villas-Boas? No, because he's going to have a completely different thing. And if you kept Ancelotti, then I'm sure a lot of youth players would have come through. But if you change managers that much, they're going to have so many different choices that they can't afford to analyse players for so long, because they're going to get sacked, and it's ridiculous.
Well, it's like you say. I mean, if Sunderland are clearly, it looks like the Jermaine Defoe deal is going to complete in the next few days.
Yeah.
If Jermaine Defoe signs and Sunderland go on and they don't win a game for another 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and Gus Poyet gets the sack, is the new manager who's coming in going to want to play Jermaine Defoe every week? He's going to want to bring his own players in.
Exactly, and that's normally 4 or 5 players, especially if you've just fought relegation, because you're like, we're going to have a big change around, which means more money, which means will these players settle? You potentially lose a captain like they did in Catamo, and then now he's been brought back. It's a big change.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to look at it as well with a United point of view. Is a new manager's come in Van Gaal and drastically just cut the dead wood. It didn't make a difference. I mean, I believe the stories. I've not read Rio Ferdinand's book, but I believe the stories where Ryan Giggs had promised Rio Ferdinand a new contract at United. They would keep him on for 12 months. Van Gaal come in and said, "No, he's too old. Get rid."
Yeah,
and a new manager comes in, and there's no loyalties there with a new manager.
Where with Alex Ferguson or Ryan Giggs, who had been at the club for so long, show a bit of loyalty. It may pay off, but then also it may not pay off. But then Van Gaal has to be given the space to make his own transfers. Otherwise, what's the point of joining Man United?
Exactly, and like we've picked up. I just don't see. Unless they do bring a wage cap in, I just don't see the wages. I can only see the wages increasing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's as simple as that.
The problem with a wage cap is where do you start? Because if you think of a wage cap, like as you said before, a lot of the top earners in the Premier League wouldn't take a pay cut for a wage cap. So you'd have to really start at them. So let's say, let's just instead of Falcao, use like Rooney or somebody who's on 250 a week. That means you're capping at 250 a week, and think of all the players who could abuse that, who are on 80 at the minute.
Yeah, and also, like say if they did bring something in, which I'm quite happy with, if they brought in a sort of cap for 18 to 24-year-olds, saying that you couldn't get anything more than 50k. Can you imagine Hazard like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm happy with 50k a week"? No. So all that's going to do is say goodbye to a few players from the Premier League, but then could that be a good thing? I don't think it's going to happen, but it could be a good thing to see the young talent who really want to play and are happy to take pay cuts to stay. But then it's obviously not going to happen because it's the Premier League.
That's what you're saying. Where's the benefit for Hazard to take a pay cut?
No, exactly.
All he'll do is put in a transfer request and go and get 250, 300 grand a week at PSG or Real Madrid or Barcelona.
And that's why when people say La Liga's the best league in the world, it's like, I don't agree with that in the slightest, because it's two teams that have the money. Okay, you may see Atletico play well, but that's because they've built a team, and then a year later, half that team's gone.
Yeah.
But let's get on to the next topic. It's footballers and social media. We've seen a lot recently with players getting banned for comments they've made on social media. Andrew, what do you think of this? We've seen Mario Balotelli recently getting banned for posting a picture, a racist picture, and that affected Liverpool. They could have done with Balotelli that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, our FA, the English FA, must really be struggling because it's, in all fairness, it's a panel of quite older men, and I think for social media must be quite a new one for them. So they're doing quite well with all these bans, considering they probably don't know much about all the terminology and everything. But seriously though, I think for me personally, if I was a footballer, I just wouldn't have Twitter, because I don't think you have any benefits, because you're so censored. It's not as if it's your account, is it? Because you can see all the stuff they put. It's probably had to go through a certain person to check it, to make sure it's okay.
Yeah.
To actually put stuff. So, I mean, some of the stuff is just silly what they put when they start, like, obviously we all look at Joey Barton to look at when he starts having go at fans and stuff like that. Like, it's a great idea, though, social media, to have a player on there who can interact with the fans and everything, but For me personally, I don't really get footballers having a Twitter account. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's good to have the interaction, and in a good way, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a footballer, a politician, whether you're an artist. It doesn't make a difference. You're always going to have the people on there that give you abuse. It's just a case of knowing that you're an adult and ignore it. I mean, the reason why I obviously wanted to discuss this topic today, I don't know whether you've seen it or not, but Robert Hoof of Stoke City has been charged today by the FA because of his response to some tweets. But it's comical. Basically, Robert Hoof has replied 12 times to an account that asks users to guess the gender of an individual in a picture. So an account puts a picture up of something. I've personally not seen the account.
Yeah.
But I take it they put a picture up and you've got to guess whether it's a man or a woman. He's replied 12 times to that and he's been charged by the FA. Why?
Yeah.
Why is... First of all, it sounds quite strange why anybody would want to do it in the first place, why they want to guess the gender of somebody. But why is he being charged by the FA? He's done nothing wrong. He's not stopped a game and decided to access Twitter on his phone while he's pretending to be injured. He's done it in his own time.
Yeah.
In his own house, probably, doing his own thing. And he's not abused anybody. He's not been racist to anybody. He's not done anything untoward other than guess the gender of a picture that's been tweeted by a page, and he's being charged by the FA for it, which is probably going to result in either a ban or a fine.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's another one of those completely unrelated to football, yet you're going to get banned for it. And do you think the FA have the right to ban someone over something that's completely separate from football? They're an ambassador to the Premier League, but unless we've seen players that have done terrible things and are still playing football, and then we see someone post something stupid on Twitter that, to be all honest, 90% of fans do not care. Nobody... After Joey Barton could say something to me, and if I've said something to him, I deserve to get criticised back. But unless Joey Barton's saying something personal in front of my face, and I've completely undeserved it, then I don't really see what the issue is. Like, fans give abuse so much, and when a player gives abuse back, it's a whole, oh my God, you can't say that, oh my God, someone banned him. It's just like, it's ridiculous.
I think you've got to look at it as a player. You've got to look at whether or not you must know. I mean, how many times has Rio Ferdinand been pulled up on, his tweets and things? And like you say, Joey Barton's always on there.
Yeah.
And you've got the banter between players and things. But was it Puncheon at Crystal Palace that just took to Twitter to have a rant about Warnock?
Yeah, when he said he made us give him money and stuff like that. Yeah, I remember that.
Stuff like that. I mean, you wouldn't do that as a normal adult. If I had a disagreement with a work colleague or disagreement with a friend or a family member, I wouldn't take to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram to tell the world my side of the story. You keep things like that private. On that side of things, I don't understand why footballers feel the need to let the world know agreements and disagreements and have this, I think one of the best ones is it Frimpong. Some of his absolute classic in the banter and stuff, and it's just all in good taste. But when you somebody like Puncheon going out there to purposely try and get one over on a fellow professional, you just think, where's this bloke's mind? Yeah, you might be annoyed, you might be angry, you might not agree with what's been said, but put your point across properly. Don't go to social media and start, having a go at somebody so that the rest of the world can try and support you or, get be your side of the story. It's strange. I don't understand it. I just think, should you be getting banned for stuff on social media? I don't know. I think it's
a touchy subject, isn't it?
It's a touchy subject, but surely the players must know. They must see that Rio Ferdinand's been banned for tweets. They must see that other players have been reprimanded for tweets and things like that. I mean, Alex Ferguson hated it, didn't he? United didn't have any sort of social media accounts. They had no Twitter account, no Instagram, no Facebook, nothing official. The minute Alex Ferguson left, the club realised that that's where football was going, and they needed a Twitter account, they needed a Facebook account, they needed an Instagram account for the followers, for the social media side of things. But Alex Ferguson despised it. He hated it.
Yeah, you can't really blame him as well, can you?
Well, I mean, look at the trouble. I mean, let's say, for instance, now, Robert Hoof gets banned for, drastic, he gets banned for 3 games. He's not done anything wrong on the football field, but he gets banned for 3 games. And Stoke lose all 3 of those games and end up getting relegated.
Yeah.
All for a tweet. It's crazy.
Yeah,
You just think that they'd be a bit sensible about it, especially with social media and how touchy the FA seem to be about things that get said.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen quite a few Arsenal players take to Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. What's your opinion on all of these things, Andrew?
Like which tweets do you mean? Just so I know.
We've seen players like Szczesny, posting like 2-0 in front of TVs. It's a bit childish, isn't it?
Oh yeah, stuff like that was. But I mean, I'm not going to start talking about Szczesny at the minute because we all know what he's like at the minute. But yes, it's the childish. Yeah, exactly. It's like the point that was brought up before. These are adults. Why can't they act like the rest of us?
Yeah, it's really silly when it comes to it because one of the most annoying things is when people consistently abuse someone and it gets quite intense. There was people posting stuff like we know where you live and stuff like that to players who have to deactivate their accounts because they just physically can't take it anymore. I think that's one of the very big downsides of having social media account if you're a footballer, because
you're gonna get that whether you're a footballer or not. I've tweeted things in the past, and random people, just because they don't agree with you, give you a shed load of abuse. I mean, anybody that follows me on Twitter, not too long ago, I won an iPad. I've already got an iPad. I didn't need it, so I decided to do the right thing, and I give it away in a competition on Twitter. Yeah. I just basically said, look, anybody that retweets and favourites this tweet, I've got an iPad here, brand new, I'll give it away at the end of the week. I'll just pick somebody at random and I'll give it away. Over 3,500 people retweeted the tweet that I did. I picked one person out of over 3,500 people and got nothing but abuse.
Yeah, because you didn't pick them.
Because I didn't pick them. And I made it clear from the start, I've got one iPad, I will pick one person at random. And because it wasn't them, I got days and days and days of abuse off people. Yeah,
it really is ridiculous. But when like if you was a manager and you saw your own players using Facebook Facebook not as bad, but Twitter, for instance, the way that the players do nowadays, would you have a ban on it?
I would just make them all have accounts, just not of them. I don't know why no one does that. Just have so they can have the social media side, but it's just just keep a profile picture and name, because the beauty of Twitter is you don't use your own name, so you just have a Twitter account. You follow all your friends, but it just isn't you. So, for example, we said before, Jason Punchin can say what he wants about Neil Warnock or anything, but it isn't Jason Punchin's account. It's whatever. It's a fake @name or something.
Yeah, that definitely could be interesting, and also it clamp down on the sort of the fines that players are getting, which have nothing to do with football. But Yeah, it's a touchy subject, isn't it? But
the problem is like the point that was brought before is Robert Huth's getting fined in football terms for something he did in his social life, and it's like we need to work out where this barrier is, where you stop being a footballer and you become a citizen, and you have a social life and everything.
But also, if Stoke lose them 2 matches on an unfootball related incident, and Huth plays and they don't lose, then that you're punishing a team for an off-field incident. It's ridiculous. It really is. But that's enough for that topic. Maybe we'll bring it up in the next few weeks and we can go over that again. But the next topic is a topic I know Richard's quite interested in, is footballers leaving the Premier League to play in foreign leagues, particularly the MLS, and then constantly returning. What do you guys think of this?
I think, the reason why I picked up on this point is a lot. We've seen a lot of players. There's obviously now starting to be more and more and more high-profile players leave the Premier League. I mean, you had your David Beckham go out there, which was probably in the last 10 years or so the first really high-profile player. I know a lot of players have gone out to America and things, but David Beckham went out there. He's set the world on fire over there. He's become this icon, etc. Then you've seen like Jermaine Defoe's, your Robbie Keane's go out there. We're now seeing Steven Gerrard go out there. For me personally, David Beckham left Real Madrid and he had 5 years left in him to play football in Europe. He had 5 years left in him, and David Beckham could have gone anywhere in Europe. David Beckham was never the best player in the world. He was never, ever the best player in the world. But David Beckham as a brand could have gone to any football club he wanted because they'd have instantly sold millions of shirts.
Yeah.
So why choose the MLS? And for me, it's not a comfort. Steven Gerrard could quite comfortably play in La Liga for another 2 years. He could quite comfortably play in Serie A for 2 years. He could quite comfortably play in the Bundesliga. He could have stayed at Liverpool. I don't believe all the nonsense about him. If they would have offered me a contract 12 months ago, I would have stayed. Stay. If you want to stay, stay.
Yeah.
Take a pay cut, stay. Don't be expecting to play week in, week out. He's gone to the MLS for the money. Jermaine Defoe's gone to the MLS for the money. Robbie Keane's gone to the MLS for the money.
Yeah.
These players, though, the MLS season's over shortly. Is it finished in March?
I think February.
And then they've got nothing to do till the season starts, so they all come back to the Premier League.
Oh no, I think it begins in February.
Yeah, it begins in March and finishes like December or November.
Yeah.
So why not just stay? These like Jermaine Defoe has now come back to the Premier League. Stay in the Premier League. Stay in Europe. Stay in countries, in competitions, in leagues where you can continue bettering your career.
Yeah, even go to a team like, for instance, I don't know if they would want him, but a team like PSV or something where it's not going to be the best football in Europe, but you're going to play in the Champions League. You're going to be able to play against your Barcelonas, your Bayern Munichs, your Man Uniteds, and it's really irritating to watch a player. And it's more irritating to watch a player just like basically give up, but then a year later say, well, I want to come back. And it's like you've left the team that you like. Like if Steven Gerrard plays in the Premier League again, it's going to be very similar to the whole Lampard situation.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, does anybody really think that Frank Lampard's going to go to the MLS?
To be fair, I did, but I don't anymore, no.
If Frank Lampard wins the Premier League this season with Manchester City, if he wins the Premier League, he gets another Premier League medal. He gets to the knock. He's already in the knockout stage of the Champions League. If he wins the FA Cup, he's obviously doing a job. He's still scoring goals. He's proven that he can still play football in the Premier League. He's scoring goals. He's not playing week in, week out. He's not playing for 90 minutes. He's coming on where he can. He's playing 60, 70 minutes here, but he's doing a job.
Yeah.
If Frank Lampard goes to the MLS, that'll be it. Nobody will hear of him again until he retires.
Like I said, as a Chelsea fan, I wasn't bothered about him going to the MLS, but I was bothered at the fact that he made the whole thing of him going to New York City FC and then just completely done a U-turn. You know, and I think you'd feel the same if sort of Skull's done that. But
well, yeah, I think the thing is with Paul Scholes, and I just don't understand it. I don't understand why these players, these English players, these high-profile players. It for me, it can purely only be about the money. I mean, not even the high-profile players, you Steven Gerrard, you David Beckhams, even the likes of Clint Dempsey went to America, came back on loan. I don't understand it. Why, if you can clearly do a job in the Premier League still, why are you going? The only reason you're going to America for me is for the money. It's as simple as that, because Steven Gerrard might not be able to do a job as far as Brendan Rodgers is at Liverpool week in, week out.
But he would for Everton, for instance.
Well, he would for Everton, but I can't ever see Steven Gerrard playing for another Premier League club. I don't think he would do. But
then saying that a few months ago, I wouldn't have said that about Lampard.
But the thing is, with Frank Lampard, he wasn't born and bred Chelsea. He was at West Ham. They bought him. He's turned into a legend there. I think it'd be a different story if Steven Gerrard had been signed from West Ham or from Sunderland, and then you could see him go somewhere else. Frank Lampard, in all fairness, no disrespect to Chelsea, whether he's a Chelsea fan or not, if he personally is a Chelsea fan, he's got no loyalty to Chelsea because he didn't start his career there. John Terry, on the other hand, I can't ever see John Terry playing for another Premier League club because he's Chelsea through and through. Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, you never really thought whether Phil Neville had finished his career at United or Nicky Butt or Wes Brown, but you knew that Ryan Giggs wouldn't go anywhere else, and you couldn't, even if he did go anywhere else, wouldn't go to the Premier League. But I'm quite positively confident that if Steven Gerrard went and played for a Serie A team or a Bundesliga team, he'd do just as good a job, even not better than what he's going to go and do at the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, but also, do you think the same thing with Thierry Henry, Andrew? You know, he came back to Arsenal and sort of done that little finale before he retired. Do you feel the same about that, or do you think that's a sort of different topic?
Well, I'm never going to say that a comeback was... I'm never going to slag that comeback off, because it was actually important. Like that, him coming back contributed to Arsenal getting in the top four that season.
But do you think it would have been nice for maybe him to just sign for Arsenal and then retire at the end of the season, or at least play till the end of the season? To
be honest, like I couldn't really. It's not like I was fine with him playing for Arsenal and then going on to the LA to go and play for New York again, because I don't really have a problem with players doing the MLS and then coming over to the Premier League for the January loan. I think it's fair enough for them, because if they want to play football, like they want to play football and get a bit of an extra wage and stuff. So I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I think Richard made a great point then about players who are good Premier League players who move to the MLS. It's exactly what he said. They don't go to mid-table La Liga or Serie A or Bundesliga. Yeah, it's always to the high life of New York or LA, and that just shows like it's that kind of nicer life, more wages. Like say Steven Gerrard you'd think like it'd be a great fit AC Milan or something like that. Plus he'd be able to say he's played for AC Milan, but instead, obviously, there's that nice comfy life in Los Angeles, and I
don't think Milan would be too bad, to be fair.
Yeah, fair. No, yeah, of course, I'm not.
The thing is, in Milan, the lifestyle's going to be better, but it's going to be a competition for him. Steven Gerrard knows he's going to go over to the LA Galaxy and he's going to walk into that team week in, week out, regardless of how well he performs. If he goes to Inter Milan, AC Milan, if he goes to Atletico Madrid or anywhere like that, he's going to have to carry on fighting for his place. He's going to have to make sure he's still performing. He's going to have to... He's clearly shown, and this is no disrespect to Steven Gerrard, but he's clearly shown he's not prepared at the age that he is now to fight for his place in a team, because I know for me, I'm a hardcore Manchester United fan. If I get into my early 30s, mid-30s, and I know my career is coming to the end, and my manager pulls me into the room and says, "Look, you're a legend at this football club. You always will be. But there's youth players that we need to bring through. You're not going to play week out." My first response isn't go, right, well, I'm going to go somewhere else then. Well, no problem, boss. I understand it. Brilliant. I might need to take a pay cut. Let's see where we go and let's crack on with things. But no, he's been told you're not going to play week in, week out. Well, okay, then I'll go for the nice, easy life in LA. Thanks very much.
But do you think that could be a result of the sort of year he's had as well? It could be the fact that they were so close to winning the league. The one thing he really, really wanted, and then he's just seen Sturridge out for majority of the season, so you ain't got a goal scorer. Then Suarez go to Barcelona, the only person who could have probably gave him any hope, and a terrible transfer window. Could he be thinking?
Did he really expect Suarez to stay though? It was only 12 months before he was begging the club to accept the offer from Arsenal. But
then in December, I do remember them signing a long-term contract for him. As much as contracts don't mean anything, you maybe thought we'll get another year out of him if we have a good year and build on that. But maybe he thinks, this is a bit of a sinking ship as well, because Liverpool have done very poor this year. But going back to the point on David Beckham, you look at David Beckham at LA Galaxy and he spent 2 years on loan at Milan.
Exactly, and when he went there, he still did a job for him.
Yeah.
And that was 12, 18 months after he'd been in America. And then he did a job going over to France and playing in France. He still did a job there. So if you're able to do it for 3 or 4 months on loan, why not just stay in the big European leagues? I don't understand it.
Do you think it could be like family issues? Do you think? Because I feel that David Beckham moved to LA Galaxy for a family reason, if you know what I mean.
I don't know. I mean, do you want to uproot your kids and who are going halfway through school to take them to LA and start again? I think if you're more interested in being a celebrity than a footballer, then yeah. Because you look at. I think obviously he's not. He didn't obviously harm his brand, did he? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, everywhere David Beckham goes, he's probably the most recognised sportsman in the world. Yeah. Everybody knows who David Beckham is. Doesn't matter where you go in the world. If you say David Beckham, someone will know who you're talking about. But if you went to Taiwan and asked who, I don't know, Kobe Bryant was, they probably won't know who he was. But David Beckham's got that brand about him. Wherever he goes, he's going to bring the numbers in. He's going to bring the fans. I kind of get why he went to America to try and expand his brand. He'd obviously done it in England. I think maybe it was more about Victoria as well, though, don't you think? Like, she became a clothing designer and blah, 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 when they moved to Madrid and then LA, Yeah. I just think, honestly think on this point, unless you're in, you've got no hope of getting into any team in Europe, then go to America. I've got nothing against players going out there to retire and have another couple of seasons, get paid you $250 a week, $250,000 a week, and live the high life in LA or New York or wherever. I've got nothing against that. But if you've still got something to give in the big European leagues, go and test yourself in Spain. Go and test yourself in Germany. Go and test yourself in France. And also a big thing is, if you're making the decision to move out there, like Lampard did, Lampard could have gone to City straight. There wouldn't have been. I think people would have been annoyed, but if he wouldn't have made that big speech, then Chelsea didn't want him. End of. Well, Chelsea did want him. They offered him a contract and he rejected it. But then, it's a done deal. But then if you're going to move to the MLS, make that decision to stay out there. You've made your decision, like Thierry Henry done. Okay, he came back and he had that last cameo, but that wasn't I want to play Premier League football. That was, I'm joining Arsenal because it's the team I love. But Thierry Henry, where did Thierry Henry go after he left Arsenal? Back to New York. No, I mean the first time he left Arsenal. When he left Arsenal, where did he go? Barcelona. There you go. He'd already played in France. He'd already played in Italy. He'd proved himself in England. He went to one of the biggest football clubs in the world and carried on performing there. And then he went to the MLS.
Oh, no, definitely. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that Henry made the decision to go to the MLS. And since he's joined the MLS, you haven't seen him loan back to Arsenal here, loan back to Paris there, or Juventus there. Like, he's stayed there. You know, he was true to his word. He stayed in New York.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, if you're going to make that decision, you know, stick to it, because it's important. But anyway, on to the that was a brilliant topic, actually. Next topic is transfer rumours, are one that's always very interesting. Messi to Chelsea looks like it's taken a turn, but you never know, it could happen next week. What rumours have you guys seen?
I think there's a different one each week. I don't think there's a player Manchester United aren't going to buy, to be perfectly honest. There
was many rumours of Man United buying Kevin Strootman, was there not?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got bigger fish to fry than buying another centre midfield player, to be perfectly honest. Especially with, is it right? I've seen it quoted today somewhere on social media that you'd be talking 77 million for him.
Wow!
Didn't he go to Roma for something like 7 million 12, 18 months ago or something? 12 million.
Yeah, but this is United. You've got to overpay.
You know, I mean, I think at one point David Moyes was going to try and buy him for Everton, wasn't he, before he came to United? So I can't see that happening, especially not for that amount of money. Definitely not. But I just think that the thing with the transfer rumours is, I mean, obviously there's going to be players touted about here, there, and everywhere, but it's the ones that the transfer windows annoy me. It's the ones that constantly get denied by the clubs and the players, but they just don't go away. Like, for instance, the Wesley Sneijder one. Still to this day, there's still rumours of him joining Manchester United. This has been going on now for every transfer window for about 5 years.
Yeah.
He's not coming. He isn't coming. He's not going to Manchester United. It's as simple as that. And no matter how many times the players and the club come out and say, it's like the Lionel Messi one. Now the media have got a bite on the fact that they think that Lionel Messi's unhappy at Barcelona, and he said that he's got no idea where he's going to be next season. He didn't say I've got no idea where I'm going to be next season. He said you don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, that could mean anything.
Which you don't. You don't know what the future holds. Nobody knows what the future holds. Lionel Messi could wake up tomorrow morning and Barcelona think, do you know what? Yeah, we're going to sell him. We're going to put him on a transfer list. They've absolutely ignored the fact that he said he's happy at Barcelona and he wants to end his career at Barcelona, but they've picked up on and they've highlighted the fact he said he doesn't know what the future holds, so he must be unhappy, so he must be going to Manchester United or he must be going to Chelsea. It's like the David De Gea rumours. Every single week he's going to Real Madrid, he's going here, he's going there, and now all of a sudden Falcao doesn't play one game. He doesn't get picked for the team for one game, and now all of a sudden, apparently, his agent's out there saying, well, he will play for one of the best teams in the world, and if he was at anywhere else, he'd play week in, week out.
But that's just a general question, isn't it? They've probably said to him, because we all know that journalists twist things, and he's probably gone to Falcao's agent, while Falcao's agents probably don't want to speak to him, and they've probably gone, if Falcao doesn't play for United, will he play for another top team in Europe? Yes. So that means Falcao is unhappy at United, but he will play for another team. So Real Madrid have made a bid for him.
It stands to reason, doesn't it? If Falcao decides he doesn't want to go back to Atletico Madrid, he's not going to sign for Blackburn Rovers. He's going to sign for a top club throughout Europe, whether that's in France, whether that's in Italy, whether that's in Holland, whether that's in Germany, whether that's in Spain, whether it's staying in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Falcao is going to play for a top club in the world because he's a top player.
Yeah.
You know, and it's as simple as that. And the transfer, the transfer rooms. I've always said it doesn't make a difference to me how often we get Manchester United get scouted with transfer rumours and we're buying this player, we're buying that player. I do not believe any transfer rumour until they're stood next to the manager holding the shirt. It's as simple as that. Because, I mean, look at all these fake accounts on Twitter. You know, these in-the-know accounts and the agents' accounts and all this stuff. What's that one called? Me and you talked to...
Indy Cayley or something.
Yeah. He works for KFC. He works at KFC. He's got 50,000 million followers because he's got a couple of transfer stories right over the last few years.
Yeah, that's the irritating thing. You see, like, we've got a 90% rating of predicting transfers. It's like, of course you do, because the day before you have a guess that turns out to be right, which a million other people have guessed. It's like you're not doing anything special.
It's just crazy. It's nuts, and I love the excitement of the transfer, the transfer, you know, the transfer windows. I love the excitement. Transfer deadline day is great. It's fantastic. It hasn't been if you're a United fan for the last few years, but this last one was really good. But I love the excitement of it, but I just think it's a January. Let's be honest, is pretty much a panic buy window.
Yeah.
If Manchester United were top of the Premier League last January, weren't underperforming under David Moyes, not in a million years would we have signed Juan Mata. Not in a million years.
And also you could potentially say that the Juan Mata transfer was only available because he was unsettled at Chelsea.
Exactly, but United wouldn't have had to panic buy him and spend 38 million on him. They could have quite easily gone to his agent and said, "Look, let's let him stick it out for another couple of months. We'll bid for him in the summer. We'll get him maybe for 25, 30 million. We do want him." You know, it's the same. It's like you know, Arsenal fans now, and I'm shocked that they've let a striker go out on loan. I mean,
that's the topic. That's what I was just about to say.
He's not the best striker in the world, but Giroud's been. I mean, Andrew will know the answer to this question. Giroud's been back 5 games from a broken leg. Yeah. Obviously, I know he got a 3-game suspension. So what? He's a month back from a broken leg. It's only going to take one bad tackle, and that's probably another broken leg. Danny Welbeck, we all know, is not the most prolific striker in the world, but he does a job. He's a good player, but he's not going to get 20 goals a season. He's a good player. Danny Welbeck's a good player. He is.
Write that down.
But that's what I was just about to say with the rumours. Andrew, what did you think of seeing Podolski leave?
It's a tough one because it's always a tough one with football with people like Podolski because it's the character you see over the player. So like you see the fun. It's like someone made a good point. They said about Aaron Ramsey, who tweeted him. You know, once he'd officially moved to Inter, he picked the tweet featured "You were a character in the dressing room." It wasn't the tweet wasn't "We're going to miss your goals" or "You're such an impact on the pitch." So it kind of he was the character of the team in the sense of he was funny, but it was the fact that he wasn't a workhorse. He wouldn't run up and down the field like he was the best finisher at the club easily. But it's like
there's no point being the best finisher if you're on the bench the majority of the match, is it?
Well, yeah, and it's also the fact that I think Arsenal this season, especially with Sanchez, Arsenal fans now are picking up on players who don't run about because they've seen how footballers should play and how they should work for the team and everything. So when people are a bit lazy, they get picked up on it. And I think Podolski would admit that he isn't he won't run up and down the field for 90 minutes. He'll openly admit that.
I mean, but that's the prime example there is obviously Carlos Tevez and Dimitar Berbatov. I don't care what anyone says. Dimitar Berbatov was a million times better at footballer than Carlos Tevez. But Carlos Tevez had run round like an headless chicken for 45 minutes. Whereas Berbatov would just stand there and when the ball came to him, he'd do something special. Or he had that bit of magic in him where Carlos Tevez was a workhorse. So Carlos Tevez got a lot more plaudits at Manchester United. Yeah. And it made Berbatov look worse than what he actually was.
Yeah. And also, like, you look at a lot of players today, and Berbatov's style of football isn't in a lot of players because football's turned very pacey and very, you've got a bit of skill in it, but the last time we saw a real skiller in the Premier League was Ronaldo. You've got the players to potentially do it in your sort of Aguero, Hazard and Sanchez, but they don't do it as much because I think the managers are more focused on them being team players than actual sort of standout performers. Do you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't really see Mourinho giving in to Hazard if he tried to make it a one-man show, 100% of the time.
But it's like with Chelsea, that's what Mata was, wasn't it? With Chelsea, Mata's not at Chelsea now because Mourinho didn't like the fact that he didn't track back, and that's why he gave like Oscar and Hazard a bit of a warning this summer. He said, you've got to track back because we need, that's how football is today. You can't
you've got a job, do it.
There. Yeah, exactly.
We've also seen rumours of was rumours that Shaqiri rejected a few Premier League teams to join Inter Milan. What do you guys think of that? Do you think he would have been a good fit for a couple of Premier League teams?
I think he would have been great in the Premier League, but this is no disrespect. This is just pure speculation. Nobody ever really knows what happens with these transfers. But if it's true that he didn't even entertain going to Liverpool, he was happy because Stoke City came in for him, didn't he? And he was
How did he reject them?
He was happy to speak to Stoke City, but rejected Liverpool outright.
Yeah, something a bit dodgy in the sort of article there, isn't it?
If that's true, that's scary. That's scary for a Liverpool fan because he could have probably turned their season around. But that's two high-profile players now that have chose different clubs than Liverpool. Obviously, Sanchez in the summer. Everybody at one point thought he was going to Anfield. I think the vast majority of Liverpool fans thought he was going to Anfield.
Yeah,
and he's gone to Arsenal. You've now got who's been made available, who's had an extremely good World Cup this summer, and he's turned the Premier League down to go to the Serie A.
Do you think it could be Champions League based? Maybe he feels that if he plays week in, week out and Inter, he could provide enough strength to make a Champions League push. Maybe he thought at Liverpool, they didn't have a chance of getting in the Champions League, maybe this January. But at the start of the season, I would have thought it would have been an ideal move for him. But we've also seen Arsenal fans on, different YouTube sites saying that they would like a defensive midfielder in. Some say, crazy enough, Pogba. Some say Gundogan. Who would you really like to see Arsenal buy, Andrew?
If I could pick now within reason, I would have to say Schneiderlin, definitely from Southampton. I think he's somebody who I think Arsenal would need in that core of midfield. And in terms of the transfer, I think with a bit of negotiation, because it would be tough to get him out of Southampton because you can't offer him Champions League because he's saying, well, if we win most of our games, we'll get it anyway. So what can you? So that's going to be a tough one. But like the Pogba one, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? Pogba's never.
There's also been rumours, as much as that's true, that he could be heading back to United. Do you see any truth in that?
I think the thing is with the Manchester United thing. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. It wasn't the club; it was the manager he had the problem with.
Yeah. It sort of proved the point now.
Yeah, it wasn't Manchester United as a whole. He would, if Alex Ferguson would have started playing in the Premier League, Paul Pogba would still be at Manchester United. He didn't leave because he hated the football club. He left because he felt the manager there. It was because let's not forget, nobody envisioned Ferguson retiring. Everyone, he told Robin van Persie, and that's why one of the reasons Robin van Persie wasn't happy, because he told Van Persie he was going to be there for the length of contract that Van Persie signed. So nobody was expecting Ferguson to retire. So Paul Pogba probably wasn't expecting to get his chance at United while Ferguson was there. So is there a reason why Pogba wouldn't come back to Old Trafford? In my opinion, no. We've got a new manager. We've got a new way of doing things. He's proved to be a quality player. Would he come back? It's probably going to cost quite a lot of money, perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But I can't see it. Money talks. Money talks in football. Every single player has got a price. It doesn't matter who you are or where you play. Every player's got a price.
I'm not saying it because of the stature of United, because you can't say anything about United. The biggest team in football, only next to Real Madrid, really. But I cannot see Pogba coming back to the Premier League at all. I think he's got it all in Juventus, and the only team I can really see him going to is Real Madrid at the moment. And that's just a personal thing, and that's just purely based on he's played at the highest level, and maybe he wants to go higher at a team that's currently doing the best. You could say Real Madrid are playing the best football that they've played in a long time at the moment, and he would want to be a part of that.
Well, he's, like you say, he's doing well in Italy, and he's making quite a name for himself. So why leave? By the sounds of it, I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I used to watch Italian football quite a lot, but I think it's boring now. I don't think it's got the excitement that it used to have in the 90s. So I don't really follow Italian that much, but he seems to be loved at Juventus. The fans seem to love him. He plays week in, week out. He's scored some absolute worldies of goals, some of the goals that he scored, and he seems to be a big part of their team. So why would he to leave? Because there's no guarantee he's going to be part of the plans at Real Madrid. They've got a vast array of talent. We've seen many players go to Real Madrid. You Van der Vaarts, you Wesley Sneijder's in the late 20s, who were at the time at the peak of their careers, go to Real Madrid and sit on the bench and not get games.
Yeah, all of them leave though, don't they?
Exactly. So why? The only way I can see him leaving is if he does get a ridiculously big offer from a big club and can be guaranteed to play week in, week out. Thing is, I know it sounds crazy, and Andrew said it'll never happen, but Arsenal have got the money to spend on the likes of Paul Pogba, and Arsenal can offer him guaranteed Champions League football every year and guaranteed week in, week out football. So why wouldn't he go to Arsenal?
No, definitely. It's definitely an interesting one. We'll finish the topic on this next rumour. Winston Reid has been of interest in Arsenal lately. Could you see that happening, Andrew, or do you think this is just another rumour that's going to blow away?
I think the first instinct is it probably is a rumour, because obviously Sam Allardyce came out the other day and said he has no future here. But like I say, we've pointed that out in this topic alone. Journalists have twisted that it's because he's out of contract in the summer. That's all. That's the only reason why he said it. So I mean, all Winston Reid has to do is sign another contract for 4 years, and that story goes away.
Yeah.
But as we're sat here at the minute, the only way I could see that happening is in the summer for free. I don't think it would be an actual this January, because it's the 2 and 2 together. He's a defender. Arsenal have a weak defence when it comes to injuries like they have. So obviously the journalists just put 2 and 2 together and say that's guaranteed transfer. So I think the only way I could think of it happening is just because of the injury to Debussy at the minute. But I think with Berlin there, I think he's the player who I'd rather see in defence than actually.
It would be good to see maybe Chambers play on the right.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, I completely forgot about that, yeah. Chambers playing it right back, exactly.
Or maybe Arsenal bring in Nathaniel Klein. That could be a good move, homegrown player, puts you in the quota.
But that's another one. How much would it cost to get Nathaniel Klein as a transfer? True. Because what are you going to sell him on? You're going to sell him on Champions League, because he's going to say a few more wins and Southampton are in Champions League.
And I thought he was a sure signing for Liverpool, to be fair.
Well, yeah, you can't really judge Liverpool's transfer policy at the moment, can you?
No, that's definitely true. But
can we give a shout out though for one transfer that we've heard? Stoke City possibly getting Edin Dzeko on loan.
Oh, it really?
Yeah, I thought that was in the papers this week. Yeah, apparently they're going to put a loan offer in for Edin Dzeko.
I think that's definitely getting rejected instantly.
Yeah.
But no, that we'll call that an end to the show, guys. But if you've stayed to the end, thank you for watching. If you've agreed or disagreed with any of the points that have been made in the show, please leave it in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and share the video around. And thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, cheers, guys. See you later.